See their specials at aircomfortservice.com.
Lonely is the night when you find yourself alone. Your demons come to light and your mind is not your own. Lonely is the night when there's no one left to call.
You're listening to The Mark Cox Show. Follow Mark on Twitter at MarkCox971.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
All right, welcome back into the Mark Cox Show. Still lots to get to today. I want to explain a little bit more on this immigration issue and what's going on down south and the effort that's underway to undermine the immigrations and customs enforcement people from doing their jobs. It's really like handing somebody who's about to commit a crime or has committed a crime a cheat sheet on how to avoid being held responsible for what you've done. It's outrageous. We'll get to all that coming up. The phone number's down here, 314-969-9797. I'll get to the rest of your phone calls in just a moment. Right now, we're joined by Graham Renz from the Show Me Institute. ShowMeInstitute.org is the website where you can go and read up on a lot of these issues. Graham, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy warm Friday.
I wish we were doing the show outside today. It's beautiful out there. Was that not an option, Liz? You told me we couldn't do that. We were always stuck in the studio.
I never said that. We just have to talk to engineering way ahead of time.
Okay. All right. Well, good. But we're in a climate-controlled studio today. However, it's beautiful outside. Hope people are out there enjoying it. Maybe you're going to the zoo, which is part of a special taxing district that we all pay for because it's not really free. And these special taxing districts are something that are kind of growing in popularity, and that's kind of what you're in here to talk about today.
That's exactly right, Mark. So we've all been to the Chesterfield Valley or driven through, and we see the big retail area, and we shop there. We often don't know that we're in a special taxing district, in a transportation development district. Name doesn't matter so much, but what matters is that we're paying extra sales taxes when we go in that district, when we shop there. We often have no clue about it. This might be news for a lot of people, but that money goes to a special district that spends tens of millions of dollars to fund various improvements. The one in Chesterfield used to fund, various transportation projects, but now there's a proposal to use that TDD to fund an ice rink, a new ice rink, to subsidize the ice rink, even though the existing ice rink there in Chesterfield is going out of business. So what's the idea? Let's turn one of these special taxing districts into just another form of corporate welfare. Let's extend the tax. That's a proposal, at least, to help subsidize a failing business.
Yeah, that's funny because also in those taxing districts, what people often don't realize is when you go there and spend money, there's an additional few pennies added to every transaction, correct, that goes to support those districts. So if you shop there, you're paying that fee.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And the funny thing is the law states that the retailer is supposed to post, by the cash register, you're paying this extra sales tax. It's almost never the case.
Of course not.
You don't know if you're in one of these or not, but you look at your receipt and you'll see, wow, I didn't remember that being so expensive. And these districts have exploded over the past 20 years. 20 years ago, there was one TDD. Now there's about 200, and there's another kind of district called community improvement districts. 20 years ago, there were none. Today, there's about 300. So these things pop up like weeds all across the state.
The acronyms get confusing because there are CIDs and TDDs and special taxing STDs. I guess you wouldn't want to call those STDs, would you? The special taxing districts. So the wording gets confusing, but like with TIFs, for example, a lot of people, we talk about TIFs, tax increment financing, where you're basically taking a portion of the taxes generated and it goes back to the developer who invested the money to develop those projects.
That's right. Yeah. So the acronyms can get a little bit confusing. What's different about CIDs and TDDs, or STDs, if you want to call them that,
I like it.
is that they impose extra taxes, new taxes on top of what you would the normal taxes. And so they, instead of diverting taxes like TIF, they add extra taxes, and it's just administratively the cash flow is a little different, but it's more or less the same. But the funny thing is, with these districts, we often don't know that they exist. So when TIF, we often hear about TIF. We know a project is, we're hearing funds are being diverted from schools, right? With a CID or a TDD, we're getting, taxpayers are getting their pockets picked, and they don't even know about it.
Maybe if we called them STDs, people would try to avoid them more. Do you think? I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. With community improvement districts, is that included in this?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so those are also ones where extra taxes are being paid to, and the money in that case, it goes to support whatever the improvements are in that district.
Yeah, that's right. So the idea is that within this district, you can more or less draw lines on a map and you impose whatever special sales tax you want on there, or it can be a property tax. And the idea is that we can fund things like, street beautification, more trash cans, whatever, make the area nicer, make it more attractive for investment. But what often happens is that one developer, one property owner, can draw a line around their own property. And how the laws are written, if they're the only property owner in the district, they get complete say over those funds.
Right.
So what we see happening are just developers gaming the system. There's somebody who comes in with a project, they draw a line around their property, they impose an extra tax, and then they've got a big multi-million-dollar subsidy coming in. So what happened with the second phase of Ballpark Village, most folks don't know. Their receipt will show a bigger number, but they don't know it. They're paying an extra sales tax that's going to the Cardinals to help subsidize that development.
Sure. I'm not suggesting that any of our local elected officials have done this, but unlike having to put a tax on the ballot that people have to vote on, this can often be sold as something that, well, when people come here to shop, they're kind of paying the tax, so it's not really on you so much.
Yeah,
right?
That's a response that's made oftentimes. And you know what? You can choose to shop somewhere else if you know these taxes exist. Mm-hmm. But again, the funny thing is, very few people know that these taxes exist. And so if they had a big placard outside that says you're paying extra taxes to subsidize our business here, they might get a few less customers.
And if it's a tax-free weekend, it's still not free of these taxes.
No, these are special taxes that are going on there. So there's just other issues with these districts. Just until last year, the state auditor couldn't even come in and look at the finances for community improvement districts if they were one with no voters and only businesses.
Right.
So there's very little accountability. So there's millions of dollars, public dollars, being collected and spent, and oftentimes the state auditor might not even know these things exist, because the auditor doesn't have the authority to come and look at these things. So we've got
maddening.
A lot of money being spent, and very few people know how much or where it's going.
You've got an article on this up on the website?
On the website, showmeinstitute.org. We've got a blog up right now where you can read more.
Educate yourself. Go to your next city council meeting and ask about these things. Find out if it's going on in your community. Graham Renz, great job.
Thanks so much, Mark.
I appreciate you coming in. Thank you.